What's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this end of the weekend. It is Sunday, September 24th, 2023. About 10:32 here, California time here in the PM. Latest activity looks like a 2.7 over here across the area of India, and also a 3.4 coming into the region of the Mediterranean. We'll get into all this earthquake activity here in just a minute. First, had a little surprise, almost a G2 class storm kickoff earlier this afternoon. It has since tapered off here. Looks like we're still kind of up there, though, in the category of the G1 storming. Now, the latest information here with regards to the potential auroras, I'm thinking that they passed already. I know there were some states over here across the extreme northeast that got to see a little bit of the auroras, but it looks as though things have calmed down, mostly up around the Canada area and maybe into Alaska as well. But earlier, this did kick up into a close to a G2 storm with the KP index of 5 to 6. You can see it right there on that KP index scale. And I don't know if that was forecasted or not. If it was, kind of running a little late, so to speak, because we were looking at a G1 class storm here, night or so ago that never did materialize. All right. Either way, space weather activity entering into that blackout currently, far as the eclipse of the sun from the moon. In this case, it looks like an older image here, a few minutes older. Looking at quite a few sunspots out here, quite active as well. Let's go over here to the magnetogram image just to give us a little bit more complex imagery of their magnetic fields. And still watching this area down here. It is center disk just about, but it is lined up directly facing Earth. Well, it's off-centered towards the south, but it's still pretty much give us a good bullseye shot if that thing were to produce any major CME. Also another sunspot up here. Starting to turn away from Earth. Still looks fairly complex, but I think right now our main threat's going to be coming from this area. A couple other sunspot regions way out on the eastern limb. Not too sure what they're going to bring about here in the coming days, but we'll continue to watch that. 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 65% chance, and X flare probability roughly around 15% chance. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the earthquake activity here. Well, first, the tremor map here along the Cascadia. A little bit of movement, northern Cal and also the southern Oregon area. Let's see if we got any earthquake activity here to chat about. Not seeing a whole lot showing up here on the map as far as the Pacific Northwest. A 1.7, though, earlier this morning in Petrolia area. As far as California goes, really not seeing any major movement out there. Look at the 2.5 map and above. Well, looks like just about one earthquake here near the Bodfish area of California, 2.5 earlier this morning. Aside from that, smaller earthquake activity out here along the west coast. Really nothing showing up here across Yellowstone, but let's give it a quick glance here real quick and see what we have. Again, pretty quiet. Not a whole lot of earthquake activity popping up here across the graph, and it's pretty obvious that things are very quiet right now across Yellowstone. A couple small earthquakes, but that's about it. All right, Texas, Oklahoma did see some big hail out here across this area today. I think, I'm not for sure if there was any tornadoes or not, but definitely some large hail taking place out there in the southern plains. As far as earthquake activity goes, though, limited. Mostly smaller quakes there in the last 24 hours. The eastern portion of the country, pretty quiet for now. Puerto Rico area, handful of smaller quakes, roughly about the same as what it was this morning. Did see a little new earthquake activity here this evening into the South Sandwich Trench area. This is a subduction zone, 147 kilometers deep here into this area, northern edge of the subduction zone. I could have swore that was a 4.7. Maybe a 5.0. Okay, my eyes are playing tricks on me. Not for sure. Well, it's 147 kilometers deep, 5.0. Okay, it's been a long day. Definitely a long weekend, long day. But we'll watch for some further movement down here with the subduction zone showing that deeper activity. Normally it tends to fill in on occasion here, as far as earthquake movement goes. All right, New Zealand. Nothing showing up here on the map, but I was just checking out these volcano drums there across New Zealand. Let me refresh this for the latest update. There was a little bit of earthquake activity there across the Taupo supervolcano, but it looks like that has shifted now further up north of the Taupo supervolcano near this area. I'm not for sure how to pronounce that, so I'm not going to. But it looks like a little bit of earthquake activity occurring around this specific volcano, which is, I don't know if it's associated with the Taupo supervolcano complex structure out there, or if it's independent, but it's definitely showing some type of earthquake swarming here in the last few hours. And as you can see, it looks pretty active on this map. As far as any news, it doesn't look like they're picking up on any of that earthquake activity there at that volcano for now, but we'll continue to check back on that in the days ahead. 3.2 8 hours ago, but again, some of these other quakes that are showing up around that volcano are much smaller, so that's going to be on the all magnitudes map here, the unnoticed ones. All right, as far as the earthquake drums go in this area, well, we are going to see, looks like maybe some of that is showing up from that volcano across this station here, which is positioned a little bit further to the northwest. But as far as earthquake activity goes, still continuing down here where that 6-pointer struck. I don't know how many earthquakes they've had since that quake. I'm sure Timothy would probably be able to help us with that, as far as the amount of earthquake activity goes since then. All right, let's move on here to the north, where we're still seeing some activity. Look at this earthquake. The last one, a 4.5. Now, that's 611 kilometers deep off of the plate boundary here. It's a very interesting earthquake. You can see what we got for historical data out here across the area. Now, you can pretty much see. Let's go. Oops, did not mean to do that. Want to keep it on. There we go. Tectonic plates, if that's going to show it. Well off the tectonic plate. But this area that struck today limited deep earthquake movement. Yes, there has been a handful of earthquakes here since about 1900 or so, it looks like. But normally we don't see that earthquake activity stirring up out there too often. So it looks like maybe things building up quite nicely here, potentially for some larger scale movement. This area has been relatively quiet compared to the deeper movement here and the shallower earthquake activity along this plate boundary. So again, this is off of it, well below this region. So we'll have to watch this area pretty closely. Again, this earthquake coming in late afternoon my time, 4.5. Not a big earthquake, but it's deep, and it's off the plate boundary, 611 kilometers deep. Further up into the north, what do we got here? 4.3 near the south coast of Japan. Somewhat deep here off the Filipino plate, northwestern edge. A little bit of movement off the coast of Tokyo as well earlier this morning. The Kuril Kamchatka, we're at a 4.3 coming in earlier this evening, 70 kilometers deep. And you can see some of that deeper activity stirring up here across the northwestern edge of the Pacific plate. Getting ready maybe to see some good movement out here in these quiet zones. Watch the potentially the Izu Trench south into Guam area, and this little section of plate boundary here that is lacking earthquake activity, but we're seeing that deeper scale movement here, so things may be building up. 3.2 just coming in right now to the New Zealand area. That looks like that may be associated with that maybe potentially that movement up around that volcano. I have to look into that a little bit more. All right, what else we got? Afghanistan, of course, typical earthquake activity out there, 4.3. Far as the Mediterranean goes, not too active today. Look at that. Handful of smaller quakes, but not a huge cluster like we would see on any given day. Got a 4.8, an unusual earthquake out here. Let me see where this is at. Stand by here for a second while we get this going. That's just a really odd earthquake. 4.7 Gabon. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. It got these weird, well, they're not weird, but I just not 100% certain how to pronounce that. Pretty certain that was Gabon. 4.7. All right, and that one's just off of the plate boundary for sure, but I'm not 100% certain the dynamics here across this specific area. I'm sure there's faults and whatnot, but a ways away from this divergent plate boundary. All right, anything else going on? There's that South Sandwich Trench activity. Definitely watch that as well. South America, not seeing too much movement. Handful of smaller 2s and 3s. Yeah, like I say, I think we're going to see some movement here across this region, so we'll keep an eye on that area. All right, what else we got here? Storm Prediction Center did have a pretty good threat of severe weather out here in Texas today. I'm not for sure. Let's check out the storm reports from today, see what we have far as the severe weather activity. Looks like mainly some wind reports and the blue triangles right here. Let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit. I don't know if that helped out, but you can see that up here on the map a little bit. Mostly wind, some hail reports. Zero tornadoes, zero tornado reports. There was I think there was about a 5% chance, if I remember right, or it's down to a 2% now. Definitely main threat continues throughout the night there with some large hail. So just a heads up, if you guys are staying up late on this Sunday night, I'm going to go over here to the windy map real quick, see what we got for the weather. Look at this huge thing out here. This huge thing. Well, this is spinning counterclockwise here in the northern hemisphere. That's a great, awesome low pressure system up there, deepening. Huge trough. Now, that's just the wind. Check out the wind gusts. It almost looks like a hurricane. We got winds up around 84 miles per hour centered around, this rotation. And that's going to be bringing quite a bit of rainfall out here. This is actually a really strong early winter storm. You know, most of the time we get our rainy season here out on the West Coast, at least in Northern California, sometime around November, from November to about April or so. So this might be a sign of things to come out here this winter. That thing is huge. Look at that. Goodness, massive area of low pressure. And that definitely will be bringing with it, quite a bit of rain and some wind as we head into the day tomorrow. This thing's going to scoot right up against the coastline. I'm just so tempted to go up there, but I got too many commitments right now. But something I'd want to experience is a strong, massive low pressure out here against the Pacific coast. That'd be absolutely awesome. But that's going to pretty much head northward and leaving the most part of the rainfall and wind up to the Oregon and Washington area and up into the Vancouver Island ranges. And after that, well, things mellow out slightly. Let's check out the rain accumulation here with this system. Looks like, where's the next 10 days? Looks like a little bit of precipitation coming in here to this area. How's 5 inches sound? At least that's what one of these reports are putting out. May not be that much, but either way, there's going to be quite a bit of rainfall heading in here. Up around 7 to 8 inches up there north. That's a good storm. That's definitely a potential damaging storm if you're not prepared for that. Snowfall accumulation. There's going to be some snow, I think, at some higher elevations. Up mostly into Washington and up into Canada. All right, let's see what we got here for the numerical model. There's that system spinning off there. I'm going to go to the right here, North Pacific. Look at that thing. That thing takes up a good portion of the eastern Pacific out here. I'm not even joking. That thing is massive. All right, so that thing's going to spin around, and look at those. Goodness, those are some strong pressures right there, and it's going to weaken. Look at this high pressure out here in the eastern Pacific. That's not good news for the west coast. That can spell a blocking ridge pattern, which shoots everything up north into Alaska, which it looks like it's doing here into the first week of October. I'm hoping that doesn't stay that way. It doesn't look like it. In fact, looks like we have a pretty good pattern change for the west coast beginning towards the end of the first week of October. Notice this low pressure system coming down here, and it looks like it wants to just form and reform another low pressure system within that area and just provide California with some rainfall. So kind of looking forward to that. We'll see how that plays out. Far as the temperatures out here, look at that. Goodness, that's massive. We got one massive low pressure system and a massive high pressure system over here. These guys, not good. Anyway, we'll put this into motion here and see what happens with these pressures out here. There's the end of September. That's bringing with it some cold air into California. Limited moisture, I'm sure. But for the most part, look at this long-term pattern here. The long-term trend is showing definitely lingering troughing out here across the west. And, you know, you guys out there in the east are not going to get any taste of fall. There's that massive high pressure out there. That's crazy to see that. But occasionally these years do have some odd weather patterns. I'm sure eventually you guys get some cooler weather. But kind of looking like the West Coast is going to stay pretty active. We'll continue to watch that. I don't see any major extreme ridging going on out here. It tried up here, it looks like around the southern Alaska area, but it gets squashed there as the low pressure systems kind of form in between these two highs. So it looks, we'll see how it goes. Goodness, this is just going to be an interesting year, I think. All right, folks, I am going to jump off here. We're getting very close to the 100,000 subscriber giveaway, and we are going to be doing that drawing here on the 30th. So you got about a week to get your name in on that 100,000 subscriber giveaway drawing that we'll be holding live. We have about 330 entries so far, and Missy Mimi's have been writing down those names left and right. So she's been taking care of that, and she's been doing a good job. That's a lot of tickets to write. And the fishbowl is pretty much half full with 330 people. So we'll continue to add folks in there as those comments, you know, tally up on that video. So go check it out. It's on the channel, 100,000 subscriber giveaway. And again, we'll be doing that drawing here on the 30th, end of the month. Don't know a time yet for that day, but we'll definitely announce it either that day or potentially prior to the drawing day before. Hawaii, not a whole lot going on. If I thought there was, I would be keying up on this first of the video, but right now there's just not a whole lot. There's some movement working its way across Indonesia, and we'll just kind of keep an eye on things overnight, see how it plays out. Space weather, again, it's pretty active. Got the data back. We'll watch this sunspot region right here. It's looking like it wants to pop off an X-flare. Stay safe, folks. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow morning, which is, ooh, goodness, Monday. Happy Monday? I don't know if I want to say happy Monday, but it's Monday tomorrow. Have a good one. Peace out.